I want all the deals to go like this. Sunday, she called me and said, I'm ready. Monday, she got her pre-approval. Tuesday, we went to go look at the house. Wednesday, they accepted the offer on that house. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That was it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Closing Table podcast brought to you by WindowStill. I'm your host, Kat Schooler. Before we get started today, if you could do me a huge favor and leave us a written review on Apple Podcast, it would mean so much to us here at the Closing Table, and it helps us find more awesome listeners like you. Now to today's episode, we are here with Keith Benford of Fifth Avenue Realty. Keith, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I am really doing good. And thank you, Kat, for inviting me to the show. So I'm really grateful and appreciate that you guys even reached out. I felt special. Go ahead.
Oh, that means so much. Well, we're glad we have you here. So, you are a real estate agent serving the Metro Detroit area, correct?
Yes, I am.
And why don't you start us off with how you got started in real estate?
Oh, wow. You want to know that story? So,
Yeah, always.
so I had been around real estate probably from 20, going back all the way to 2010. I've been around real estate, and it was really within the property management field, working with different property management companies or working with different folks who were investors. And maybe I would do little odd jobs, maybe painting or something like that. Really, it was kind of painting. I didn't go too far outside of that. So, with that being the case, I had an opportunity to start working with some property management companies, not on the construction side, but on the office side of it. So when I started getting around that, um, I want to say about 2014, 2015, I was working for one company, and a gentleman by the name of Sterling Howard uh, approached me and was like, "You should you should probably be more involved with real estate." And I was like, in what way? And he was like, you should get your license. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, you should get your license. So I started actually working with him with his property because he's a single investor. And at the time, he had maybe 150 units, houses
Oh, wow.
in Southeast Michigan. So he kind of got me started. And he kind of encouraged me to get my license. Now, I didn't get my license until like 2020, but he was kind of pushing me to get my license. Because I actually went out, and I'm I'm sad to say this, but I went out, I took the test, passed the school exam, and then when I went to go take the state exam, I missed it by a point. And I got so frustrated.
Oh,
I got so frustrated that I was like, "Skip this. I don't want to. I don't want to do this no more." So I didn't. So I was just like, I'm straight. I just still worked with investors with the other things that I was doing. And when 2020 came around, the pandemic, actually in 18, I went back to school. I was like, let me go and get my license. 18, I went back to school, did that. And then I didn't go take the test right after, right? So, the next thing you know, the pandemic hit. And I said, you know what? Let me go and get my license. I was working with different property management companies. I was working with different investors doing different things for them. And they all kept telling me the same thing. You should be a realtor. You should be a realtor. So I buckled down in 2020. I gave myself a month window to study and get my license. And I got my license within that month window. And here I am.
that's an amazing story. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I,
Thank you.
I can't imagine being 1 point off. Yeah, that's a little devastating. Takes the wind out of your
Oh
sails.
yeah, it irritated me. I was like 1 point. I missed about 1 point, so it was like I ain't taking this test no more. So the funny thing is, when I studied for it and I passed, it never told me how much I passed it by. I really wanted to know what my percentage was because when I was taking the practice exams, it was 115 questions. I was getting like 109, 110 right. So I wanted to see what my actual score was, but they never told me. But that's whatever.
Well, it's probably not as important to them as it was to you, but I like that, even that attitude, the kind of striving for excellence and kind of maybe trying to understand where you could improve.
Yeah, and that's where it was because I wanted to know what questions I actually missed, but they don't give you that information. So But yeah, but that's what made me started in the real estate. A guy named by the name of Sterling Howard. He's the one that kind of pushed me and edged me and kind of mentored me through the whole the whole real estate world. So I owe it all to him.
I love that. And do you still keep in contact with Sterling? Do you
Yep.
still work together?
Yep.
I love
We
that.
don't necessarily work together, but we still keep in contact. But he's still out there doing his thing. So like I said, that's what prompted me to get into it. So I give credits to him.
That's amazing. And so 2020, kind of a tough year to start. How did that go for you?
um, well, I didn't take the test until October. Um,
Mm,
so I actually got my license towards the end of December. So I started technically in 2021. Um,
right.
but in 2021, when I jumped out here, started. When I say it was tough, it was tough. Uh, it was you working with people, and I was more on the buyer side. Now I'm getting more to the seller and buyer side, but I was just strictly on the buyer side, and it was tough. It was, um, you know, working with buyers and people procrastination. They want to go look, then they say, "No, nah, I'm not ready." They don't. They get a pre-approval letter, then they say, "No, nah, I'm gonna just hold off." And one of the things that I had to learn about when it came to real estate was there's a lot of money that you come out of when you first get into real estate that they don't talk about in class. Um,
Mm,
when they talk
like what?
you have to be on a board. You have that costs money. Even when whatever brokerage you sign up for, you paying a monthly due. That's money. Your gas. If you don't have anything else supplementing that income coming in, this is all on you. So when I came a realtor, um, when I got out here in 2021, it was all on me. So it was a lot. I actually had to go back into some uh, construction work, like doing some taking on some painting job, doing some things just to bring in income while I was trying to be navigate the realtor world because it's expensive, and that's one of the things that they don't talk about in school. They don't talk about they don't talk about how much money you're going to be coming out to be a realtor. Every 3 months, you got to pay the MLS for access to
Mm.
homes. Like they don't talk about those things. So it was a lot of money that you're coming out of when you're becoming a realtor, and that can be stressful if you don't have supplemental income coming in. So that's one of the things that people don't talk about that they should talk about. So when somebody is asking me to be a realtor and they're asking me about my knowledge and my information, that's one of the things I tell them. I said, okay, especially if they don't have a job and they're saying they just want to become a realtor. Okay, these are the things that you're going to have to deal with coming into the game that you didn't know about. And they say, oh, I didn't know I had to come out of this much money, or I had to do this, or I got to do that. I said, yeah, there's some things that they don't share unless you in it, then you understand it. So I try to give people all the information. I try to give people as much information as they can so they can make the best possible decision. So yeah, so that was a lot coming into 2021. That aspect, um, dealing with different buyers who are flaky, uh, getting to understand that side of it, because it's a difference when you're dealing with an investor world and the realtor world is completely different. They're parallel to each other because there is some things that kind of twine in between, but for the most part, they're completely different. So, um, understanding that was a lot for me in 2021.
And what would you say like are some of those key differences that you noticed?
Well, in real estate, you really have to know your paperwork, the contracts. You got to know you got to know the wording of the contract because in any contract, it's very wordy, right? In any contract that you read is very wordy. You can get your telephone contract and try to read your telephone contract and be like, what are you talking about, right? um, so you got to know the ins and outs of the paperwork. Um, on the investor side, you're just dealing with contractors, so it's a little bit different. You're dealing with contractors, and um, it makes you well rounded when it comes to people. So that part is parallel to it. That part intertwines with each other because of the people factor. But in real estate, one of the things that I say that you really have to pay attention to is the paperwork. You have to really know your paperwork and explain it to your clients what this means, what this means. When they say this, what that means. Um, and then explaining to them the contingencies, um, um, what's another thing, the Lord, because I'm going through it right now and I cannot think of the word of it. So I apologize, y'all, for me getting tongue tied on this podcast right now. I'll just say contract. I'll just leave it at that, contract. The contract is the big thing that you have to really pay attention to when it comes to on the real estate side. And for me, that I had to understand that more importantly. The house part, I kind of knew. I can walk through a house and kind of point out defects and tell you this is this or this is this, or you need to pay attention to this, or you need to look at this. I kind of give my clients, like we're walking through a house, I'm not trying to deter you from buying a house, of course not, but I want you to know what you're going to face with the house. So even when you get your inspection report, a lot of the things that I point out will be on the inspection report, so you just have an overall better idea about stuff. I hope that wasn't boring.
No, no, no. I think that's really great. And I think that's why people need agents, right? I have tried to read the terms of service on stuff, right? There was that whole like thing, 4 or 5 years ago where it's like you should really read the TOS. And I thought, okay, I will. And I fell asleep halfway through, like it doesn't make sense to somebody who's not a lawyer, somebody who doesn't understand contracts, somebody who's not an agent, right?
Yeah, I mean it is good. I mean you have to know that. You have to know that aspect about real estate, and I think that's the biggest thing to me about real estate is the contract side of it. I mean, if you're a people person, then that part is a no-brainer for you. That wouldn't be something that's difficult. Now, if you're not a people person, then okay, that's a whole different challenge for you because you have to be engaging, you have to be open, you have to communicate well. That's another thing about real estate as well. Well, I mean, in everything aspect in life, but as a realtor, you really need to know how to communicate. And whatever you say, this is what you say. Like there is no they call them fluff words. There's no fluffing when it comes to real estate. You have to say, hey, it's this or that, so your clients know, okay, it's this or that, and that's really about it. You can't what they say, black and white. You can't go gray. you
That's good
Yeah,
advice.
you can't go gray in real estate. It's black or white. Uh, because when it comes down to the terms, the contract, the purchase agreement, all those things, and then when it comes down to the deal closing, you want to make sure all the T's are crossed, right? All your I's are dotted, all the punctuation marks are where they need to be, and everybody at the end of the day walks away satisfied. And I think to me that's the bigger thing. Like everybody walks away satisfied. Like I'm not one of those agents that and I've seen this before. I've seen agents try to push properties on folks. I don't do that, because at
Mm,
the end of the day, guess what? I can't count your pockets. I
yeah.
can't count your pockets. I don't know how much money you bring. I don't know how much money you bringing in. I don't know your credit score like that because that's between you and the lender. Um, I don't ask for that information. I don't want that information. Only thing I need is that you're pre-approved. Okay, cool. You're pre-approved. So if you're pre-approved, then you know this is what you can do. And then we walk that line. Um, one of the things is with my clients, I give them homework, to be honest. When we first start, I give them homework.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I give them homework. I say, hey, you want to buy a house. This is your first, like, especially for a new first time home buyer. Hey, you want to buy a house. Congratulations. I'm excited for you. I'm glad that you picked me, right? I'm happy that I was somebody that you picked. So with that being the case, I got some homework for you. I want you with your design budget of what you say you have. I want you to go out, go on Zillow, go on Realtor.com, look up that price range for those homes. Look to see what desired areas that you may want to look at. Look at those areas, look at those homes, see what those homes offer for that price range. Let me know if you're comfortable with what you see. So, for example, you may come to me and say, hey, um, I want a 3 bedroom home, 1.5 or 2 bathrooms. I want a finished basement. Um, and I say, okay, cool. Now, does this home has to be updated, modern, turnkey ready? Or if the kitchen is, say the kitchen was remodeled 10 years ago, are you comfortable with that? Say the basement ain't finished. What if it don't have a garage? Are you cool with that? I give you this information because I want you to make the decision saying, yes, I'm cool with it or I'm not cool with it, because that's going to determine what we start searching for. So,
That's really cool advice of like just going out there and looking to see what's out there in your price range with kind of your wants list,
right.
right? Because I think for some people, the real estate market can be really shocking, especially maybe a first time buyer. And someone might think, especially maybe in this world of a lot of people working from home, they might want 4 bedrooms, right? Because, well, they want their primary
Mm-hmm.
and then they want a guest room. And then, like, say both of the couple works from home. So we want 2 offices. Well, you're either going to have small rooms, right? Or you're going to have a bigger budget.
Right. So you have to be more realistic with what you're looking for, what you want. So I try to make you get more realistic about what it is that you're looking for. Like, for example, I had a couple that we just closed on yesterday. Um, we started in January. We started in January, mid January. We were looking for properties, and they had a budget already set. So we went and looked at about maybe, I say it had to be like maybe 10 homes. And everything we came across was cool, but it wasn't exactly what they were looking for. So I asked them, I said, we came across 10 houses, and I mean, they're okay houses. I said, but it's not what y'all looking for based off of what y'all told me. And it was just like, yeah, I don't know about this. So I said, well, you know, I said, look, go back. It was a husband and wife team. I said, go back, talk it over. And if y'all want to hold off on looking at, if y'all want to hold off, cool, because I'm not gonna force you. But just go back and talk. Be more realistic about what it is that y'all looking for. So they came back to me and was like, hey, you know, we're thinking about maybe upping the budget. So I said, okay. I said, what are you thinking? They said, well, I don't know. What you think? I was like, I don't know your money. I can't, I can't count your pockets. I said, the only thing I can do is I can hold a conversation with the lender. You can hold a conversation with the lender to see where realistically where you can go. So I shot a text message to the lender. He said, oh man, they can go way past that if they want to. He said, they just said that. I said, oh, okay. So I said, y'all need to talk to the lender. So they talked to the lender, and they was like, they came back and like, hey, we can go up actually 30,000. We didn't know that. We just thought. And I said, cool. I said, so how did y'all come up with y'all budget originally? And they were just like, we just threw a number out there and just said, nope, we ain't going past this. And I was just like, oh, okay. It makes sense. Okay. But when they went up 30,000 in their budget, because realistically they could do that, they could afford that. It wasn't going to be tight for them. We found a house
Hmm.
in a week.
Wow.
We found a house in a week that they were looking for, and it fit everything on their checklist. So, like I tell people, I say, hey, you know, one, be realistic. If you're realistic about your budget, if you're realistic about what you want and what you can deal with, then it makes it easier on the agent side to actually try to go find that. Because
Yeah.
because a lot of times a lot of times not agents, a lot of times clients, they'll say, I want this, but realistically, yeah, that's not. That's not what it is, right? You can't do that. We can do this. You can build up to this, or you can have this later in the future. But realistically, let's really concentrate on where we are right now. And that's where I really try to express to my client. It makes me think about because I also teach these classes like professional development and
Oh,
career
cool.
readiness things. So in one of my classes, I always use this example. I say, if you worked in California and say you were I think I used the example of a nurse. Say you were a nurse, you're and say in California you're making as a nurse you're making 80,000, but that's in California. You move back to Michigan. There's two totally different states, two totally different costs of
Mm-hmm.
income. So if you're used to 80,000 in California, when you get to Michigan and you realize that nurses don't make 80,000, or that particular field don't make 80,000, that particular field they make 65,000. You have to be realistic with your budget because there's difference between California and Michigan. The cost of living in California is higher than the cost of California and Michigan. So since the cost is different, the reality is different. So I use
Mm-hmm.
that as an example in my class. Like when you're researching, you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic about what it is that you can afford, what you need, and move forward that way. So yeah, so I kind of put that with my clients.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like you're not a lender and you don't know people's numbers, but how do you think maybe people could be more empowered to be more inquisitive with their lenders so that they can kind of help their agents give them a larger menu, right? Because these your most recent clients, they just picked a number and the lender said good, and they probably just like walked out of there like, cool, yeah, and like nothing more was said. And when they started to ask questions, well, that opened up a world of possibilities. So I think like these are big numbers for everyone,
Hmm.
right? A house is a huge purchase.
It
Like,
is.
how do you think someone can feel more comfortable kind of talking about these big numbers?
I mean, I think, like you said, when it comes to making a purchase of a house, that's a big deal. That's a big decision for you to be a homeowner. And I think that's when you have to put all cards on the table, right? And be your most vulnerable. Be, and ask all the questions, no matter if it's a ouch, it's a sting, you might get a gut punch, but you need to know because of the steps that you're about to take, how we're about to walk this road, which is a journey. Um, you have to be very vulnerable with yourself and the lender, so that way you can kind of have a better understanding of what it is you can actually do. And I'll just say, man, like I remember when I was in school, my teacher used to say, you know, there's nothing wrong with standing in the DQ line. And I used to be like, what? What does that mean, the DQ line? And he used to always say it. And we in the class would be like, so one day we were just like, what do you mean when you say that, the DQ line? He's like, ain't nothing wrong with a dumb question. He's like, there's nothing wrong with asking a dumb question. If you don't know, you just don't know. If you're ignorant to that, then you're just ignorant to that. Ignorant doesn't mean that you're stupid, you're you're uneducated. Because most of the time when you hear the word ignorant, what you think? Most people think that is a negative type of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're ignorant to something, you're just ignorant to something. You just don't know it because you never asked that question. You never dealt with that type of situation. You never been in that type of world. So there's nothing wrong with asking those type of questions. I think a lot of people be thinking like, that's a dumb question. I ain't gonna ask that, or I don't want to be that. I don't want to appear to not know. But if you don't know, you just don't know, and and that's what it comes down to. If you don't know, you don't know. Ask the question. Um, I got a new client that was referred to me. Um, Last week, me and her had our first conversation. I gave her the homework, and she got back to me. She said, I did my homework, and she was like, I think I'm gonna have to be realistic about what my budget is. I said, cool. So she's going to actually go and talk to her lender. I suggested a few people like, hey, you hold the conversation with these folks, and whoever you go with is who you go with. I'm just giving you the information, right? Um, So we're supposed to link back up next week, and then she's gonna let me know what she wants to do and stuff like that, right? Another thing that I tell my clients, um, especially there are a bunch of first-time homebuyer programs which you can get into, but it's say if you don't qualify for one, I always tell my clients, hey, um, when you're purchasing a home as a buyer, the rule of thumb is whatever that purchase price is, times it by 6.5 to 7%. Usually that gives you a roundabout figure of how much your closing costs are. So that way
Okay.
you're more in the loop and aware of what possibly you might have to bring to the table. And you know that up front. And if you do get into a first time home buyers program and you're able to get 3,500 or 7,500 or 10,000, whatever the case may be, yeah, then deduct that, right? Because then that money's coming off. But that's another thing, another tidbit that I tell my clients, hey, whatever your purchase price is, times it by this, so you have an accurate idea of what it is that you might need to bring to the table.
That's great because I think it's really people can't set expectations for themselves, or it's difficult for them to without this kind of guidance.
Hmm. Yeah, I just try to give you all the information. If I can give you, if I could do my job, if I do my job, I gave you all the information that you needed so you can make the best well-rounded decision in the process. That's my whole job. Outside of finding
Right.
a house. That's my
Yeah.
that's my biggest job is to give you all the information that you need and go from there.
So I'd love to loop back to the mentorship you talked about. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, look at you, Kat. Look at you. Go ahead. Yes. What you want to?
The professional development.
Hmm.
I'm really curious about that. So uh, tell me what it's all about.
Oh, um, so with the professional development side, I work for a company. I'm a contractor for a company called EDSI, Education Data
Hmm.
Systems Incorporated, and we have partnerships with the city to teach classes, professional development, career readiness, life skills, and I kind of put life coaching in it as well. Because one of my favorite sayings that I've used, and I got this from my cousin, because life be lifing. So, um, so with that program, we teach on a handful of different things. I teach on a handful of different things, excuse me, from how to negotiate, um, self worth versus self value. I talk about effective communication. Um, I, I talk about the decision making process. I talk about critical thinking. I talk about problem solving. Um, we have lessons on or modules on what's another one that we do? Skills and strength. Um, it's a handful of different things that we talk about in my class. So I just kind of navigate through these different things, through these different modules, and I try to make them more applicable to life, uh, because even though yes, it's career development or professional development, but there's always an aspect of life in those things.
Hmm.
So I try to bring life into it. Um, because for example, we talk about culture. Um, and what I do is while we're talking about company culture, I also take it to their home. Like what's your culture at your house? Culture is not just within where you work at. Culture is where you live. Culture is how you develop, how you are as a person. Like people say the vibe, right? Their vibe.
Hmm.
Uh, you know. So um you've been places like I related. I said you've been to a place where you worked, and first day you got there, you said, "Oh, I don't know if this is the place for me." And most of us have had that type of experience. And I said, so take that and put it into life sense. I said, you've been around somebody, or you went to somebody's house and said, "Oh, you know what? I don't know if this is the place for me." same scenario. It's the culture. So I try to, like I said, I try to bring it all together so that way people have a better understanding of what it is. Like when we talk about goal setting and how to set goals and the steps of going to set goals. And then I try to break goals down to a the most minute minimum form it is. Like for example, your goal was to have this podcast with me,
Mhm.
right? My goal was to be on this
Yes.
podcast with you, right? Right.
Yeah.
That's a very minimum goal, right? It's
Mhm.
very minimum, but we are accomplishing this goal. I'm on here, you're on here. We've met our goal today, right?
Yes.
So, but when most people think of goals, when they say what's your goal, most people have this big aspiration, like it's this big big picture, and they have to figure out like, okay, in 10 years I'm gonna be doing this, or in 5 years I'm gonna be doing this, you know. So I try to get people to break it down to the most simplest step. I get that. You want to be this in 5, 10 years. What can you do today?
Right.
So if I
And so, oh,
no no
sorry.
no
So
go ahead.
the audience for these courses, is it like adults, versus
Adults.
like young people, or yeah,
It's
nice.
adults. Yep, adults. The youngest person I had in my class is um 23. The
Okay, yeah.
oldest person I had in my class was 72, and I used to joke with her like why are you in this class? Like are you really about to start back working? Like
She's always learning.
and she used to always joke back with me. She's like, I don't know, I'm thinking about changing my career. I was like, okay.
I love that.
But yeah, I actually love what I do. Um, and for the most part, the things that I'm doing around me right now, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to teaching the classes, I still work with a handful of investors. I love what I do. It's all kind of people based. You know,
Yeah.
everything is people based. Like all my jobs, I guess, honestly, have been people based. Even when I was heavy in nonprofit, it was people based. So, um,
Mhm.
so being a realtor to me, um, if you have that, if you have that, what's a good way I can put this? If you're able um, to be able to have a common base with somebody in real estate, you can build on that and you can go far, right? Um, like the client that I closed with yesterday, they were referred to me from another client. The client that I just picked up, they were referred to me from another client. And it's just about just I would just say, just be genuine. Just be genuine in who you are as a person. And I think if you're genuine in who you are as a person, it attracts. And and if you're knowledgeable about that particular area of field that you are, and you're a genuine person, I think that you'll find that it's easy for you to talk to folks. It's easy for you to communicate with people. It's easy to understand people and kind of get a better sense of where they are. And you can kind of go from there. Like I say, be the real tree, right? That's being genuine. Be the real tree. Don't be the fake tree. Be the real tree.
Be the real treat. That's fun. Can we touch on your nonprofit work? Because I saw a bit of it on your resume, and I think that's like a really interesting, yeah, job you had.
Oh, which one? And which one?
So my understanding is you worked with the United Way of Southeast Michigan. Yeah,
I did. Man, where are you pulling this information from? I need to know this.
it's on your LinkedIn, my friend. Like,
You know what? That's
it's
so.
out there for everybody.
Look, that's so funny. I haven't. I've been. I told myself I need to update my LinkedIn profile because. So yes, I did work with Southeast Michigan. Yes, United Way. That's what we did. NPRI, which is Michigan Prisoner Reentry. So I
Mm-hmm.
started off as a liaison, community liaison. We had two programs going. Um, one was with Habitat for Humanity, and the other was Blight Buster, and they were called Ready for Work programs. So individuals who was coming out of prison, um, if they were able, um, we got them into these apprenticeships with the two nonprofits, helping to build houses. From there, if they successfully completed those apprenticeships, um, they would either be able to one. It was a company called JC Build. They had a relationship with, excuse me, they had a relationship with um, Motor City Blightbusters, and they can actually streamline them into a job. Um, Habitat for Humanity is Habitat for Humanity. So if they were able to finish the apprenticeship, then they would actually move them over to some form of work with Habitat for Humanity. So that's how I kind of got started in prisoner reentry. And then I moved to the housing coordinator for Southeast Michigan. So in that part, if anybody came out of prison and you know they mama, daddy, cousin, sister, brother, girlfriend, boyfriend didn't want them there, and they had to find transitional housing. So we had about 7 to 8 transitional housing partners that I worked with, and we got them in their program. And it's supposed to be like 90 days. Usually it went over that, but I had to create an Excel sheet to track people's days and all of that stuff. So it was a real intricate piece of the puzzle. We would help them get their ID, social security card, help them find jobs, link them with counselors. Um, what else did we do? There was kind of like a mentorship piece with it as well, where we would sit down and talk to individuals like on a daily, on not I won't say on a daily basis. I would say we would sit down and talk with them maybe once a month, um, and just kind of have a kick it session and just see where they are, and so we can make sure that there wasn't a return to citizenship. It wasn't recidivism going back. So yeah, so that was my work within that.
Yeah. That is so cool. I've never known anybody who's done anything like that. So I definitely wanted to hear about your experience. And it seems like it's also beautifully like interwoven, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it was.
You know, you're still doing a lot of that. You're still helping people develop. You're getting people in houses. It's
Oh yeah, yeah. In a sense, yes, because I get what you're saying. Ah, I see how you put that together. Yeah. Yeah. In a sense, it's like I said, it's still a people based um, platform. Even when I worked at Matrix Human Services, I was an operation manager for them. It's still people. It's still people based services where we work with the youth. Um, so
mm-hmm.
we did youth programs, and then we had other programs in the building. That we would get people in the building to provide different services. They had an adult and senior service that was going on in the building. So it was everything has always been people based. So like I said, being a even like I said, going back to Sterling Howard, like how we started off the conversation with Sterling Howard, like how he pushed me because he was like you know, there's always that one person that sees something in you that you don't see in yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was that person. Like he saw something in me and was like, "You should do this. Like you should really do this." And then when I got to know other investors, um, they would say the same thing. Like, I don't know why you're not doing this. I was like, so I guess if so many people tell you you should be doing it, I guess you should do it. So,
Right, right. At a certain point, you have to listen.
right, you gotta listen at some point in life. so, so yeah, it's kind of one of those things. So, yeah, yeah.
So you have this wonderful resume of working with people
Oh,
and meeting them on all different levels.
thank
And
you.
it sounds like, yeah, of course. Um, it sounds like you've kind of, created a own system for working with your own clients. But if you could start over again today in real estate, is there something you might do differently?
If I could start over in real estate today, would there be something?
Like knowing what you know now.
Knowing what I know now, what would I change when I started? You talking about when I became an agent when I started, or
Yeah, yeah.
okay? Um, I would say knowing what I know now, uh, I I wish I probably would have uh, back in 2015 when I got disappointed, kept going
Mm,
and got my
yeah.
license back then. Um, I'm not gonna say, it's a shoulda, coulda, woulda thing, right? But and I'm not gonna say, man, if I'd have got my license back then, I'd have been doing this right now. Not, you don't know that, right? But
Right.
but the thing is, if I had to go back, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I should have just continued it and went and stuck it out, studied like I was supposed to, like wound up studying in 2020. I should have studied then like that, got my license, moved on. Uh, who knows? Yes, true enough. Who knows where I would be? But am I happy where I am right now? Yes. Um, would I would I necessarily change it? No, because it made me who I am right now. The person that you see in front of you, um, and I'm happy in my space, and um, I'm building my culture. So yeah,
I love that.
yeah. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite like buyer stories? Like, I don't know, ones you tell at parties maybe.
A favorite buyer story.
Or it can be sellers too, because I know you're getting closer in with sellers now, but I know you worked mostly with buyers in the past.
Oh, favorite buyer story. Okay. This is my favorite, and this doesn't happen that often. As if you can talk to any real estate agent, this don't happen that often. This was in 2022, but I told you 2021 was the year of just like I can dub that the year of understanding. I can dub
Mm,
2022. 2021 was the year of understanding. So, um, you making your phone calls, you call talking to folks, and they like, well, you know what, I keep your name if I feel like looking or if I'm ready. Okay, all right, every now and then you tap in with them. Hey, just checking in, just seeing how you doing. And I have a good memory, so if if somebody had told me something and relates personally to them, I usually could remember that, and I'd be like, hey, so how's such and such? Oh, you remember that? Yeah, you said blah 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 blah. Oh, well, no, they just such and such. You build that personal touch, right? So, it was January of 2022. Um, I get a phone call. Um, I had just I had just got out of church, and I got a phone call, and um, the lady was like, "Hey, is this Keith?" And I was like, "Yeah, this Keith." And she was like, "Hey, this is I don't want to say her name." And she was just like,
that's
yeah.
fine.
She was like, "This is such and such." And I was just like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And she was like, "I'm doing good." She's like, "I'm ready." I said, "Oh, you are?" She said, "Yep, I'm ready." I said, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "I know exactly what house I want." Oh, okay. Like, okay, you ready and you know exactly what house you want. Yep, I know what house I want. All right. Um, we talked. She wound up. She was like, "What's your?" She was like, "Can you give me a lender that I could talk to?" So I gave her a handful of lenders that she could talk to. I said, "Hey, you pick whoever you want. I'm just giving you the information. You pick whoever you want." So she picked a lender. That was on a Sunday. She called me back Monday saying that she had her pre-approval letter. I said, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "I want to go see this house." I said, "Okay." We went to go see that house Tuesday. I want to put an offer on this house. Okay. We put a offer on that house that Tuesday. That Wednesday, they accepted the offer.
Wow.
They accepted the offer. So it was Sunday, she called me and said, "I'm ready." Monday, she got her pre approval. Tuesday, we went to go look at the house. Wednesday, they accepted the offer on that house. That was that was my first that was my second sale ever. That was my second sale. And I said,
Wow.
man, why can't the deal, I want all the deals to go like this.
Totally.
I want every last deal to go like this. That didn't happen again. But that was like that was like uh that was like one of my favorite stories. Like, she Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That was it. Um, and go. One of my another story. I'll tell this story to people, like especially agents. I worked with a client for a year and a half before they finally found the house that they wanted. Not a year and a half, and you're talking about we will go look at houses almost every week.
Wow.
So that's a very long time.
Yes.
But they finally found their house. So I use both of those stories actually when I'm talking to folks, especially for clients. I use those stories. I say, hey, we can find the house on the first trip. It's happened. Or it's gonna be a minute. So, but the first one is my favorite story because she was super excited about that particular house. And when she saw the outside, she saw pictures. Because sometimes pictures can be deceiving too, as when you start
Right.
walking around with stuff, right? Even if somebody sends you a picture of themselves, and and then you meet them in person, you're like, oh, you don't look the same, whatever. But so that's one of my favorite stories. That's one of my favorite stories, hands down. Is her like she just was like, oh, I know what I want, and she got it.
Right. It's the most efficient sale of all time, or buy and whatever.
Yes, it is. So that's my favorite. I would say that's my favorite.
With your person who took a year and a half, you hear stories about buyers who are taking that long and they get ghosted or the agent doesn't want to work with them anymore. But you stuck with your client. Like, what's your mindset around that? Like, I could take a guess, but you tell me.
No, no. What's your guess? What's your guess?
Well, you seem really committed to people. Like you seem really dedicated to kind of the community you're creating. And so it makes sense to me that you wouldn't give up on somebody who's taking 18 months to find their house. But I want to know like what you were thinking throughout that process.
um, they were referred to me. They were
Mhm.
referred to me, and they were my mindset behind it was now. I'll say this. I'll say this. When they were referred to me, it was already told to me that the agent that they were working with prior to, they had been working with him for a year. And I guess
Oh
he got
my.
fed up and was like, I'm not working with y'all no more, right? So I already had that in the back of my mind. So I was just like, okay, it let me know that they're I won't say nitpicky, but it let me know that they're very, I guess I could say nitpicky. We'll just leave it
Right, right. That person was kind of working at a different pace.
there.
It was
Yeah, like they
it wasn't about the timing, it was about the
it
find.
was the fine, yeah. So they were very nitpicky about what they wanted. And funny thing was, and I was just sharing this the other day too, because somebody had asked me about it, and I was like, I want to say we put offers on maybe within that time frame maybe 9 or 10 homes. Out of those 9 or 10 homes, maybe four were five, including the one that they wound up getting, but four were accepted. And during the inspection contingency, they would find the
Mm.
littlest thing and be like, "Nope, nope, this ain't the house." And I'd be like, and the first couple of times it was like, okay. The third time it was like the same thing the inspector pointed out. I pointed out. So if I like, so you just paid for a professional to tell you the same thing that I told you, you wasting your money at this point. Like,
Right.
um, and then they were just like, well, we just wanted to make sure. And I was just like, but I told you that. So we kind of had to have that type of conversation. Like, hey, if I'm telling you something, because at this point in juncture, I know what y'all looking for. I know what you're gonna flag. So if I point these things out to you, let's not even waste our time. One, drawing up paperwork. Two, even getting the offer accepted. And then three, you wasting your money because the inspector is going to point out the same thing that I point out. So let's scrap the whole time wasting thing. So when we got to the
Right.
house that they actually accepted, and I mean the house that they actually wound up buying, when we got there, we walked through the house, and I pointed out everything that this house met on their list. I said this house has this, and I was like, and the only thing that this house doesn't have is this one particular thing that they were looking for. It doesn't have this. Now, I said, I'm gonna ask you a question. Are you really willing to walk away from this house because it doesn't have this one thing? I said, and they was just like, no. Are we sure? I was like, because I don't want to waste my time putting paperwork together. I was like, are we sure? And they was like, no, Keith, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. So, all right. So we went ahead. They accepted the offer. Inspection came back, bill of health, because again, we walked through the house. So, because again, one of the things that I do is when I'm with my clients, I walk through the house with you, and
Mm-hmm.
I point out every positive thing about a house and every defect about a house because I want you to be in the know. Like with my last clients, they were a husband and wife team, and um, he had never he didn't really know a lot about maintenance on a home. So as we were walking through the house, I'm pointing out everything like you got, and it wasn't bad stuff, but I'm like, hey, at some point you're gonna have to do this. At some point you're gonna have to do this. You have to pay attention to this and do this. And he was just like, he's like, man, I really appreciate you. He's like, I really appreciate you because you said you be giving me so much stuff to think about, and I was like, yeah, because you need this information. Because who wants to knowingly walk into a situation blindsided? Nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with them, it was patience. It was a lot of patience with them, and 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 in the back of my head, yes, it was like I'm gonna find them a house.
Right. At a certain point, it's like a
Yeah, it
challenge.
became a challenge. Like I'm gonna find y'all a house. Like y'all got referred to me. I'm gonna like after so many months in, it's like I'm gonna find you a house. And then we finally found a house. So I was super happy for them when he found a house. Like thank you. Like I am so happy for y'all. She was like, you just happy you ain't working with us no more. I said no, that ain't the case.
Oh my
I
goodness.
said, that's not the case. I'm just really happy that you got your house. With all my clients, I just be happy that they have their house. I'd be happy that we found the place for them. I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy for them. Like that, you got this. Like no buyer's remorse. You
Mm-hmm.
found the house that you wanted, that you settled on, um, that you felt comfortable with, that you know you felt good about. Cool. And that's what I want. I want that. I want that feeling for you. Because that feeling for you is happiness for me.
Right. Now, Keith, you're a very busy
Oh
person,
Lord.
but it seems like, and with all of this, you find time for maybe some creative endeavors too. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. What you want to talk about?
I think I saw something about you making like a short film or something like that.
Oh, so
Or was it a full length film?
no, no. We were in the
Was it a short film?
short film. We were in the process of making a short film. It never came out. Sadly, sadly
Mm.
enough, it never came out because there was some footage that got it was some footage that disappeared between
Ah.
between coming from one hand to the next hand. Footage got disappeared, and so sadly it never came out. But it was a very fun process to do that, which I have a partner on that end as well, which really kind of made me be like, I like this. I've always been a fan of entertainment. I've always been a fan of movies and things movies and music. I've always been a fan of those things. Like I'm very musically inclined. If that's a good word. I'm very musically inclined.
Do you
Hence,
play
hence,
instruments?
as you see the stuff,
Oh
as you
yeah.
see the stuff on my wall. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm very musically inclined. Um, so that's always been something of an interest to me. So I got some. We've actually written a sitcom. Um, I've
Oh,
written that.
fun.
Yeah, I've actually written a movie script. I've actually outlined another movie script, and at some point, you know, we've actually outlined another like TV series. So there's some things in the work, and praise God, we're able to get these things, put these things out to fruition. So hey,
Yeah, I hope so. I mean that's so cool. I've worked in film. You know, I do some, acting and creative work as well.
ooh, do
So I
you?
mean, I I do. Well, we could talk
I'm
about
about to
that
say we
later.
gotta talk about
Uh
that.
but so that's I definitely wanted to hit on that. You have such a full life, you are doing so many amazing things. I think it's so cool, Keith, and I'm so thankful that we had the chance to talk today. Can you direct people how they can find you if they want to work with you, if they want to buy or sell a home?
Oh yeah. Well, so how do y'all usually do it? Do y'all just give out like,
Whatever you want. You want to throw them your social media, you want to say your phone number, any it's your show.
oh, it's my show? Oh, okay. All right, all right. I didn't know. I didn't know. Um, social media on Facebook is just my name, Keith Benford, Benford. On IG is KEB, which is Keb underscore style. Keb style. That's what it is on IG. uh, phone number. Let's see, which phone number would I give? Because I have two. So, which phone number would I give folks? Let me see. Cause I didn't even think about a phone number, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie.
I think real estate agents are the only people who give out their phone number on the internet.
Really?
I don't give out my phone number on the internet.
Oh, I'm about to say because I didn't even think about a phone number. You could just reach me in those two ways.
Awesome,
Or
awesome.
you can reach me,
And
or you
well,
oh my fault, hold on. Or you can email me at
mhm.
Keith at Fifth Avenue Realty. And fifth is actually 5th Avenue Realty. I'm about to say, yeah, I'm about to say because I was like, do I give out my phone number? Like, I don't know about
It's all
that.
good. Thank you so much, Keith. And thank you guys for watching. This has been The Closing Table brought to you by WindowStill. I've been your host, Kat, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you guys. Bye.